Hi, everyone. We're back with another installment of our Female Founder series. My name is Rachel Allard with Union Street Media, and I'm here with Stacie Staub today, who is the founder of West Maine in Colorado. Stacie, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you.
I think, I mean, what little I know about you so far, you seem like you literally have found a way to do it all. So I'm really, really excited to hear what sort of tips and advice and inspiration you can kind of throw all our ways. But I'd love to hear just the sort of from the beginning. Western Maine hasn't been around super long, but you have a ton of experience in the industry. You kind of got going when it was really not an industry a lot of people were joining. And really through sheer grit, it sounds like, just built your way up. So tell us about that.
Yeah, for sure. I started in real estate software. So, never having the aspiration or like the inkling that I would want to ever sell real estate. And then I was the marketing director for a software company that whose major clients were large independent real estate companies. And so I was going to conferences like Inman, and even NAR, and working the industry from that side. And then their clients started, as they grew, started asking for a realtor on their staff because, surprise, surprise, computer coders and software engineers don't think like realtors. I know that's shocking. So I was actually pregnant with my second at the time. And so I thought I could get my real estate license while I'm on maternity leave. And then, I'll be back in the office. And I never really ended up going back because I fell in love with real estate. And I really thought that I would only use my license, to cater to those software clients, but also to maybe like do our own deals, help us buy our own house, investment properties, that kind of thing. And I got busy way faster than I thought I would. It just kind of came, and I really loved it. I loved not having to stick my kids in daycare. They have grown up in real estate from day one. Like they know how to open lock boxes. They certainly spent a lot of time, in their baby carriers, sitting on the floors of houses while I showed them. Um, so they're very ingrained in my company now as well. And then I hopped a couple of brokerages. The first brokerage where I ended up was very small. And in fact, when I and my friend who I had started working with there left, they shut down their real estate side. Because we were really the only active producers. I ended up at a lovely boutique brokerage, stayed there for 10 years. Started, kept selling, built my team, got into top producer level, completely crashed and burned out, and then became their marketing director. So that was kind of my journey into the management side of real estate.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm really impressed. I just came back from maternity leave and I feel like I could barely get up in the morning. So you took this, you pivoted careers, started this growth trajectory and did all of that. I'm curious what people thought at the time and sort of, mentorship, support, having a really strong peer network is always cited by really successful people. I feel like it's a really important thing. So, what did you have that built up, or did you have to build that up around you?
Well, I was lucky because I had already met so many cool real estate people from working on the software side. And so they were large brokerage owners, and I could call on them for advice. And in fact, like when I was looking for a new brokerage home, I really spoke to many of them and thought, like, how do I find the right fit this time? And also, if I ever felt stuck or had a question or a challenge, I had so many people that I could lean on, which was amazing. Especially when I was trying to focus, like, should I buy Zillow leads? Like, and that was when Zillow leads were very inexpensive. I was a very early adopter. So I think I had like 8 zip codes for like $100 a month, which would be like, pennies now. And then having that software experience and the marketing side as well, I have an MBA and a master's in marketing. So I built my own website and, figured out IDX and did all of that stuff, and got the online game down pretty quickly, at a time when a lot of agents didn't know how to do that yet. Same thing with blogging. Like, by the time blogging got very popular, I had 4 kids. So it was the perfect time for me to sit and like create original content and use the experience in real estate that I did have, but also the research that I could do online to create a really strong online presence, which ended up serving me well and still does, because now I do that for 150 people. So that has always been like the backbone too.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned that because, um, your background as a marketer, as a business professional is something not all real estate brokers, not all female founders or top producing agents have. So I'm curious, besides short of building your own website and sort of building the brand from the ground up, and anyone watching this out here, check out West and Maine because you do have an absolutely beautiful online presence. So amazing job. What would be your advice, to people looking to market themselves who maybe can't do all that right away? What would you say?
Do not struggle through it. Like outsource, outsource, outsource. Find the right products. Find something that, yes, represents you, but also that you can afford, and it's a constant ongoing process. You're never like, okay, now I'm done. Like, no, I still blog every day. I still, do all of our social content. Even though we have a bigger staff now, there's some stuff that I just can't let go of. So that's like where my heart is. But if that's not you, like let someone else do it, because your time is more important than the struggle.
Mhm. That's great advice. I'm curious, sort of pivoting a little bit because we have the reality of being in sort of the COVID era now, where marketing is different, but also business is different. One of the things you talk about is sort of extraordinary training and extraordinary agent experiences. And I'm curious, how has your agent experience changed during COVID, or not changed, and sort of what are you hearing now from them?
It's definitely changed. Although we are a virtually enabled company and our agents don't have desks, and in fact, our staff doesn't have desks, the face-to-face time that we enjoyed with our agents, we have 5 storefronts in 2 states, and so we had constant training and classes and events and parties and, things that the agents could invite their clients to, and things to build the team within the brokerage. And that was really a hard change. But thank goodness for our CTO, Greg Fisher. I think it was like the first week that were shut down. He figured out what platform we should be on, how we could keep everyone connected. Part of it was easy because we already use Slack for internal communication. So that's the only way that we communicate. So that was kind of like fluid, right? There wasn't a holdup for us there. Same thing with all of our transaction processes. But boy, that those friendships that formed in the offices when people were packed into classes and eating breakfast burritos that a lender brought in and then hanging out all day and like, collaborating, all of a sudden it was like, how do we keep that going, because our culture is so important to us. So through things like our weekly company update, happens every Friday at 10. We Nothing's going to get in the way of that. We constantly have, 100, 125 people on that call. And then we have the rest end up watching it before the next week is the expectation, because we're sharing so much important information. I mean, when COVID first started, we were like, I would sit every afternoon in front of the TV, which I never do, and just wait for the governor's update. Like, what are we allowed to do? What are we not allowed to do? I mean, it was like hanging on, like, are we ever going to sell houses again? And then, like, helping agents through the PPP process and, like, helping them figure out then once things opened up, what was safe to do, what was allowed and what wasn't, and, like, how do we take care of our community? And so that became so like just the education and information and communication piece alone, became so important. And when I did mid-year reviews with the agents through June and July, that was the biggest feedback that I got, was that, boy, like without that company update, I don't know what I would have done. It really like became this thing that everyone looked forward to every week. And the first couple weeks, it had kind of like this downer, like, is the world ending kind of vibe. And the third week, I was like, got the team on the call early, the executive team, and I was like, okay, flip it. Like, we have got to bring smiles and energy. And like, yes, we don't know what's going to happen, but this meeting is going to be nothing but positive. Even though we're providing important, relevant information, like we're going to play games, we're going to have prizes, like all of these things, because they needed that and I could feel it. So yeah, everything's changed, but some things for the better and some things will stick with, even if everything goes back to total normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think that's definitely a trend that I'm hearing. And you mentioned Greg and burritos and communication, and all those things remind me of your podcast also, and the events that you were having with the genuine hustle side of the business and sort of training. And so I'm curious too if maybe you can share a little bit about that, and why you started genuine hustle, what it is. And also, you mentioned sort of flipping it and being really positive. I think one of the things you do really well through the podcast is you tackle really sometimes really difficult topics or controversial or things like anti-racism, and you do it in a really genuine and also direct way, which kind of gives you this sense that as someone representing you, like if I were gonna right, sell my home or look for you to help me with finding a home, that I know what I'm going to get. So I'm curious if you can talk about genuine hustle in general, and then the genuine part of that.
Yeah, for sure. Genuine Hustle was a conference series that I started several years ago. And it was because of this whole left in the vertical, with the absence of Inman's road show that used to come to town.
Mhm.
And so that used to be like how we brought Inman to the agents, and it would hit different cities and brought in national speakers. And there was like that energy, the Inman energy, and they decided they weren't going to do Agent Reboot anymore. And so I was like, oh, what can we do? And so I ended up just asking my friends if they like that speak all over the country and are very well known and are super well versed at like considered the expert in our field at something, if they would come to town and speak. And I thought maybe one or two of them would, and 14 of them ended up coming to Denver. And I was like, okay, well, this is bigger than our sales meeting now, because we're bringing all these awesome people to town, and they're all paying their own way to get here. Like, how amazing is that? So we ended up selling tickets and hope like deferring some costs. It's a break even event. It doesn't make money, but we do it because we really feel like there's this need in the industry, not only for connection, but also for information. And you might not have it in your local market. And so, how can we bring it to you? So, it's gone to 9 or 10 cities now, and then COVID. Because we should be heading to Atlanta in just a few weeks, and we ended up having to cancel that, obviously. So now our team, the Genuine Hustle team, which does include Greg, Valerie Garcia, Marguerite Martin, Ann Jones, Chavi Home, and Kim. They all kind of helped us brainstorm. Jennifer Jelgren, who was supposed to host in Atlanta, played a big part in this catalyst, but we decided to start Genuine Hustle Academy, which is now like a regular series of classes that we bring kind of the same way, and with certainly the same spirit of generosity. No one gets paid is the biggest difference. There's no sponsors. People are always like, well, why don't you make it a moneymaker? And I'm like, no, that it would ruin it. Like, I don't need it to be a moneymaker. I need it to like stay special and whole and keep attracting wonderful people, which is all that it's done.
That sounds like a really great philosophy in
Yeah.
life, not just about genuine hustle. And I'm curious, because obviously the community that you've built for your agents and within the industry, and sort of in the absence of, the Inman Roadshow, that has had this sort of organic, um, like I don't know if you knew what you were creating when you started it. It just had this like it just took off. And it seems like that's what your brand has done too, although I know there's a lot of intentionality behind it. So I'm curious, sort of coming back to West and Maine, when you think about sort of meeting someone new and how you describe what makes you different, and what the reason they should work with you, like what you want people to know about the company, what do you say?
I mean, we started West Maine because my co-founder Madeline and I couldn't find another place where we wanted to work, and that was really telling, right? There was clearly a space in our market for a boutique brokerage that was just doing things a little bit differently, that had very fresh branding and really felt like not real estatey, is what we always say. Um, and we thought, okay, if we can't find a place that we want to work, there must be agents that feel the same way. And wow, there sure were. So we thought we would take the summer and have focus groups and flesh out the brand and have like all these study the color schemes and like what does that mean, and like no, like the day that it started getting linked that we were starting a company, we didn't even have a logo yet and I was taking calls. Part of that was the merger and acquisition scene in Denver. Brokerages get sold all the time here or acquired, and so those agents are frequently looking to make a move and looking for a place to call home that's collaborative, that's culture driven, that's client focused. And so that all lies at the heart of the brand. Supervision is huge for us as well. Compliance, I don't like getting sued. So we have a wonderful team that has grown, and we've hired every single person from within up to the executive level, and just elevated them once we figured out what they were really good at.
Mhm.
So we have 7 managing brokers. We have a huge team of mentors that offer training and advice to newer agents. We're one of the few boutique brokerages in town that does hire new agents. And I just think that's so important. Like we all owe that to our industry. So that's part of the energy in our office as well. We have agents at all levels of production, and I think our business model is a little atypical. Our splits are really fair, and we kind of include all of the fun stuff. So when you go into our offices, you'll find marketing collateral displayed like a boutique, and agents can go and pick and choose off the shelves the things that they need for a listing appointment, for a closing gift, those kinds of things. And they certainly have access to a huge library online as well, because we're constantly creating new things based on their feedback.
Mhm.
One of the things that we launched this year during COVID was our lifestyle magazine, which we're so excited about. It was truly a labor of love. We had a whole plan for the magazine, and we had to, throw it all out the window because COVID. So we turned it into a Love Your Home More issue, and our agents are able to customize the covers. It's totally all about them and what we thought their clients would appreciate having on the coffee table, and finding in their mailbox. So that's a program that will stick because it was so well received. So we're just looking to, do the things that make us excited, because surprise, surprise, it makes our agents excited and then their clients too. So it just works.
That's awesome. There's so much in there. I think really, I can tell that you really have a vision for yourself and the company. I love what you said too, though, about sort of working somewhere you would want to work, because there is sort of this shift in the industry, and I'm seeing it now too, where these big brands are just gobbling up technology, and with your background in the tech space and the marketing space, spending hundreds of millions of dollars in building out these platforms just to not really have their agents' needs and not really understand the agents and foster that connection and help them grow their business. And so there's actually, I feel like the more people I talk to, there's this movement back towards being independent,
Yeah.
and um and even during COVID, like it actually seems to be accelerating. So it kind of seems like, your timing was perfect. And also, you have to be smart in order to see the opportunities, right?
Well, exactly. And what I'm hearing, especially over the last few months, there were these two big, horrible things that happened, but also opportunities to create change and to be a safe place. And the first one was obviously COVID. And I hear from agents that I'm hiring now that their managing broker acted like COVID wasn't existing, or they had no idea that they were supposed to be wearing, having their clients wear gloves and masks to show homes in Colorado. Some of them were having open houses when you weren't supposed to. They just didn't know. And we were like, oh my gosh, you guys, here are the rules for this week. Like, we do not want you on the news breaking these rules. So that was always that's like the weekly goal. Don't get on the news for messing up, right? So COVID, and then the murder of George Floyd. And so, I heard disappointment from so many agents and so many, even at the admin level, of these bigger companies who took the quiet stance and didn't say anything for weeks. And perhaps that was because they're managed by a board and they had to get everything, approved. And it's harder to speak for, thousands or tens of thousands of people. And I get that. But there's also so much, I think, said in the silence, and not having that stance and not being able to equate that to fair housing in our history, in the real estate industry, and how we've certainly been part of the problem. Like, can we now be part of the solution has been really, really a huge focus for us from day one. But certainly since the protests happened and since there was so much education, we were like, oh my gosh, how can we um, use this as a learning opportunity for real estate agents everywhere? So we had done a fair housing series last fall, which was wonderful, taught by our local fair housing center. And we luckily had some of that recorded, even though it was pre-COVID. And I wish we had all of it because it was so good. We just started that again. And now we're seeing, the associations and things like that bring in training, but you just have to be so careful that it's good training and it's relevant and it's impactful, and it's not just how to stay out of trouble, it's like how to make a difference. So that's really our focus, always, but certainly right now in this moment, like, how can we capitalize on it?
Yeah. Well, and clearly you are a leader in that area. And I really commend, everything you're doing, and just staying true to who you are and kind of having that, knowing the right thing to do. And I'm sort of curious, because we've touched on so many different areas and there's still so much uncertainty in the coming months and possibly years ahead. What do you see as on the horizon for West and Maine? What's next for you all?
I mean, surprisingly, like, we like on April 1st, I was like, will we ever sell a house again? I don't know. We were closing the deals we had under contract before COVID, but then we were like, will people want to move for during a pandemic? I don't know. So we did start coming up with some backup plans. We didn't want to skip out on our rent on all of our spaces, but we were like, can we bring in sublease, like maybe some retail that where people have lost their leases or they need to downsize their business? Can we offer them free space? Things like that. And like, how can we support the local art communities and give them free gallery space? Like, maybe they can meet by appointment only, and it's kind of evolved. We kind of started putting padding around it, like, okay, if real estate's gonna like flatten out, what are we going to do? And we just kind of kept ourselves busy. And then our market exploded again. And who knew we were going to have our best year? I mean, it's our third year. We should be. But I didn't know that that was going to happen. And so now it's more like, how can we continue to support the agents, um, continue to exceed expectations for their clients and help them do that, because it is difficult. Transactions are more, there's like this heightened anxiety around transactions right now because of COVID, right? There's so many more rules. It's hard to it's hard to look at houses. It's no one knows if we're going to get shut down again. There's this anxiety, and so we try to like just help them through that. But we did expand in the spring. We opened Oklahoma City, and that was something we'd had in the works, partnership that we had been talking about. And we just decided, let's push forward. Like, let's let's think positive, and act like everything is eventually going to go back to normal. And so now we have a couple of other markets that have expressed interest. So that's looking like something that will happen in the next couple of years. It was kind of like taking my kids shopping for school supplies the other day. They were like, what if we don't need a backpack? What if we don't need a lunchbox? And I was like, let's think positive. Like, let's just buy all the things like you're going to school. I think it's a little bit of that too. We're just going to keep investing in the company, and you know, investing in things that we believe in, and hopefully make things better for some people, and just hold on for the ride, kind of.
Yeah. I love that. I am actually thinking one of the phrases we have here, and when working with my team, is fake it until you become it. You
Yeah.
know, the power of just that sheer will and grit and positivity. Like, yes, you have to work hard and you have to believe, you have to have that vision. And
Mhm.
so I love that you have that. And I'm kind of curious. So there's just a lot of uncertainty right now, and yet there are a lot of people who are starting their own businesses right now too, and they're pivoting and they're doing something different. And so, how much of your starting West Maine and also your success going back to that maternity leave with your second child where you made that decision, how much of it is gut and how much of it is really like a plan and data and, thinking through all the details?
Ours was definitely 90% gut. You know, I have an MBA, and so I should have been like having this, 100-page business plan and like all of these projections, and like I know how it should work. I can throw together a P&L under duress, but it's not like my happy place. And so Maddie and I are just grateful that we do have the luxury of being able to make fast decisions and just decide if a path feels good. And we have a similar saying to you guys, and ours is done is better than perfect.
Mhm.
And that applied from day one. Like, the logo wasn't super done before we started ordering signs, and it just worked. And then our office space was way too big for us at first, and we couldn't afford furniture. And so because we were determined not to take out loans for this company, and so we were on Adirondack chairs and picnic tables in the front half of the office for a few months while the rest of it got built out. And so we just thought, like, why are we going to keep the doors closed? Open the doors, let them come in. And it worked. So I think if you're thinking about making a move, for one thing, if you're unhappy where you are in the industry, please get up and take a new seat. Whether you're at a brokerage where you hate the marketing, or you're like, I hear this all the time. Well, I'm just there because that's where my real estate school guy told me to go. And I'm like, he probably got a little kickback for that, but go ahead. And then I never use their marketing. So I spend a lot of my time like trying to make my own flyers, and I don't really know how, but that's what I do. And I like hate their listing presentation. I'm like, oh my God, please just start interviewing. Like, please find a place that, if that's important to you, find a new place. So step one, right? And then if you interview in your market and you can't find the right place, your story might follow ours. Like Stephanie Lanier, she has done so many wonderful things within our industry and beyond. And she has this saying, build your own table if no one will give you a seat. And that just has always resonated with me. She has a wonderful keynote that she gives along those lines, but at the core, like, how true is that? Like, don't stand around waiting for someone to get up and make room for you. Like, build your own table and invite everyone. And that's kind of what Maddie and I have done.
Words of wisdom. I love it. Well, Stacie Staub, this has been absolutely wonderful. I think I could talk to you all day. I'm curious, just one more question for all of the either current fans of yours, or I'm sure like me, soon to be adoring fans. Tell us something fun about you that most people don't know.
I already told you I have 4 kids. I grew up riding horses, and so a lot of people don't know that I was like a trick rider, when I was young and did a lot of, crazy horse stuff, um, but at the same time, I forgot to learn how to swim. So I'm very uncomfortable in the water, but I'm very comfortable on horseback. So, there's a fun fact for you. And see, none of us do everything.
That's awesome. I love that. I grew up riding horses too, and my husband is like, "Don't ever mention that in front of the kids because it's such a can be expensive thing for kids." So, but when you have to clean stables and you have to learn, like that's the first time I really learned how to literally get dirty. So,
Yes. So
great
yeah,
to have you.
priceless, right?
Totally. Yeah, kids have to learn. Well, awesome. Well, Stacie, thank you again. For everyone else, as a reminder, we're here with Stacie Staub, the founder, co-founder of West Maine, um, also founder of Genuine Hustle, also just an amazing entrepreneur and leader. So go check
Thank
her
you
out.
so
And
much.
this is the Female Founder Series. Stay tuned for the next episode and have a great day.